Fang is deep in meditation. Now, Fang is blind. He's so deep that the world around him seems to disappear. And then he hears this voice coming from his right eye. Hey, you want to go check out the flowers? Before he has a chance to even process what's happening, he hears from his left eye, sure, let's go. And then he feels something squeezing in his nose, and then he lets out this big sneeze. Fang wasn't always blind. Fang was from Chang'an, which is the capital of the Tang dynasty. So it was over 1,000 years ago. At that point in history, the Silk Road was up and running. That was the greatest thing. It went straight into the capital. People from all over the world came and traded. Now, this particular day was the Clear Weather Festival. So Fang wakes up in the morning, he puts on his nice clothes, he kisses his wife goodbye, he goes out to the town, he goes out to check out the festival. Now, really, what he's going to do is to check out the ladies. Now, Fang had a little bit of a reputation of, he didn't do anything, but he looked at the women of the town in a rather inappropriate way. So he's out, he's looking at the ladies, kind of a little bit of a creep, making them uncomfortable. So he goes out, and then from a distance, he sees this one procession that almost seems to be floating over. And there's these horses, and some of the most beautiful women he'd ever seen in his life on horseback. And then there's this carriage that comes in. Now, the window is closed, but a gust of wind comes and it kind of opens it a little, and he kind of ducks down and is like, what? Trying to get a little bit of a look. He gets a peek, and he sees by far, and there were already a lot of beautiful women there. This was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his entire life. It felt like something out of a painting. As he caught her eye, she caught his eye. She yells out, "Maid, who's that creep staring at me?" One of the women's on the horseback comes to attention. She jumps off the horse, says, "Do you know who this is? This is the wife of the 7th prince of the immortal city. She is on the way to see her parents. What do you think you're doing looking at her like that?" Before Fang has a chance to answer, she picks up some of the dust on the ground and just chucks it at him right into his eyes. Ah! My eyes, I can't see! What was that? As he finally rubs it away and kind of comes to, he sees the entire procession is gone. He starts to feel like he can't really see very well. It's starting to get kind of cloudy. And so he goes back home. He sees his wife. She's like, how is the festival? He's like, let's not worry about that. I can't see it. Do you see anything in my eyes? And she's like, oh, they look weird, almost like the eyes of a snake when it's losing its skin. What's going on? And she's like, I'm going to go get the doctor. Now, unfortunately, the doctor lived right next door. So she goes, gets the doctor. He comes over and he's looking at his eyes, and the doctor says, I have never seen anything like this in my life. There is some sort of mucousy film forming over your eyes. And I say forming as it is getting thicker and thicker. I am sitting here watching it. And then his jaw drops a little as he says, there's a spiral forming in your right eye. It looks like it's almost tattooed on his eye. The doctor says, I have never seen this before. I cannot help you. By the time the doctor leaves, Fang is fully blind. He cannot see anything at all. This rage, this anger sets in. What is happening? He thinks maybe it'll be better by the next day. He goes to bed. He wakes up the next day. Nothing. He cannot see anything at all. His wife looks at his eyes and said, there is just this thick film on your eyes with that spiral in the right eye. And Fang he loses it. He enters this state of a combination of anger and sadness, and he feels like he has no idea what to do. He doesn't know how he's going to live his life. He doesn't want to live his life. And then gradually he just slips into this deep depression. This goes on for days. until his wife one day comes to him and says, you know, I heard of this monk who has some sort of special sutra, and he does meditation, and apparently it helps with relieving ailments. And at this point, Fong is like, he wants to blow it off and says, I'm done. But he still had a little bit of fight left in him, and he said, okay, sure, whatever, just bring this guy. I don't see how that's going to help my eyes at all, but whatever. Later the next day, the monk comes. He brings the sutra with him, the Guang Ming Sutra. Now, Fong is blind, so the monk starts to read it to him. He reads him the sutra. It's all about compassion and how you're supposed to treat others. And Fong he's like, I have no idea what this has to do with anything. Now, he was never a religious man. He was never into meditation or anything like that. So he said, can we just get on to the meditation? Oh, sure. So he shows him how to meditate, shows him how to put his legs up. He's in pain because he's never meditated before. He's not flexible. And he's just like, this, I don't like this. And your silly sutra, whatever. And he says, you know what, that's fine. Just take it easy. I'm going to leave this here with your wife. She can read it to you. I'm going to leave. So he leaves. And the next day, Fong gets up and he says, you know what? Maybe I'll try the meditation again. Why not? So he tries the meditation. His wife reads him a little bit of the sutra. He's like, I guess it's okay. It's not so bad. This starts to happen on a daily basis. He really starts to get into the meditation, and he really starts to get into the sutra. He likes it to the point that he basically has it memorized. His wife's reading it from the book. He's reciting it from memory. He just feels that he's able to go deeper and deeper into meditation, and it's almost like he can't wait to wake up the next day so that he can start meditating. He used to be a grumpy old man. People would knock at the door. Who is that? Get out of here. And then he started to change. He couldn't really answer the door because he was blind, but he was like, hey, come on in. He didn't even know who it was. As he's deep in meditation and everything seems to slip away, the voices appear in his eyes. They went out his nose, and then they came back. They came back into his nose and said, what happened to the epidendrums, the flower garden? They all died. And then he asked his wife, what happened? My flowers are all dead? Now, at this point, she knew something's up. Because, yes, she had forgot to water his flowers. They had all died. But she didn't have any idea how he would have known that. Now, he's still blind. So she decides, okay, I'm just going to hang out in the corner of this room. I don't think that Fong can hear me. So I'm just going to hide. And he goes back and he's meditating again. And then before she really realizes what's happening, she sees these two very small people jump out of his nose. They run off into the garden, and then they come back and they go back into his head. Now, as Fong's sitting there, he hears the voices start talking to each other, saying, we need a better door. We need this door is horrible. The guy on the right says, well, there's this big spiral in front of my eye. I can't do anything. And so then the guy on the left says, well, let me try it. He starts to chop at the eye, and Fong feels this chopping in his eye. As he's feeling that, his wife sees something going on with his eye. She gets a little closer and looks at him right in the eye. And then all of a sudden, she sees that thick film, that mucousy film, just split open. And all of a sudden, Fong can see again. He can see out of his left eye, not his right eye. He says, I can see. At the same time, he hears in his eye the guy say, hey, come on over. The door's open. Okay, the guy from the right goes over, and as his wife is looking right at the pupil of his eye, she all of a sudden sees this other pupil pop open. So now he has two pupils in his left eye. And at this point, it's almost like as he was meditating, he is now able to see the world in a totally different way. He experienced the world in a different way as meditation, in this deep state. Now, it's almost like this sutra that he had been learning has come to life. When he looks at people, he sees the people, but he can also see, is this a compassionate person? Is this a wicked person? What state is this person in? What are they all about? He's seeing the world in this totally different way. The clear weather festival comes around again. The next door neighbor, this little boy, this young guy comes over and says, "Hey, Mr. Fong, I was just at this festival and I saw some of the most beautiful women I'd ever see riding on horseback. And there was this carriage coming in. Come on, let's go check it out." And old Fong says, "No, you know what? You go ahead and check it out. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to tend to my epidendrums."